The biggest problem with strength training is knowing how to separate the bull from the BS. The concept of strength training has been around for thousands of years. One of the earliest recorded instances comes from Milo of Croton. Milo was a famous wrestling champion in ancient Greece. Don't worry, I'm not going to recount Milo's entire life story here, or his very strange demise. However, if you are interested further, Google's your friend. What I will point out is Milo's strength training regimen. According to legend, Milo trained by lifting a newborn calf and carrying it over his shoulders every day until the calf was fully grown. It is said that he carried the fully grown ox on his shoulders through the stadium gates at Olympia. Whether this is bull or BS is open to debate in bars and gyms everywhere. There is, however, 3 pearls of strength training wisdom to be gained from his story. Number 1, progressive overload. Milo incorporated progressive overload on a daily basis, starting light and progressing heavier as the calf grew. According to science, calves gain 1.5 to 2 pounds per day. This would be almost imperceptible. Number 2, consistency. Milo lifted the calf every day. He didn't let long spans of time elapse between lifting the calf. If he had, the progressive overload would have been ruined with massive spikes of Milo trying to catch up rather than a gradual incline. Number 3, compound exercises. Milo didn't curl the calf in the squat rack. Instead, he went through lifting the calf from the ground and transitioned to placing it over his shoulders. I'm certain he used good form. Now that I've established what I mean by the bull, using Milo's analogy, the bull in this context are the things and principles that make Milo stronger. BS, on the other hand, well, you can figure out your own definition of that. Let's fast forward to today. At last count, there were over 1 billion hits on strength training on the internet. And of course, you should trust everything that you read about on the internet. I wish I could tell you that I was going to call out the BS in some of today's current programs. You know the ones. Do this one simple thing. I did 1 million of this. This is what happened. That isn't how you lose weight. Instead, I'm going to refer to the current strength gods. Strength training gods such as Reg Park, Bill Starr, Mark Ripito, Jim Wendling. Afterward, you can decide for yourself. All of them have written, highlighted, and compiled their programs, all of which is mostly available for free on the internet. While there is uniqueness to each of these approaches, there are some similar themes. So let me point to some of the highlights of their program as they apply to the principles that I talked about earlier. First of all, their approach to progressive overload can be summarized this way: increasing the percentage based on a 1 rep max, adding 5 to 10 pounds each week based on upper or lower body exercises, or after completing successful sets, adding 5 to 10 pounds. Also, again, depending on upper or lower body exercises. Number 2, consistency. Each has a streamlined list of what, when, and how. What exercises, sets, and reps, when to do them, and how to know it's time to increase the weight. In some cases, the schedule is rigid, with the exact exercises listed and the days that they need to take place. Also, the sets and reps are also specified and laid out beforehand. In other cases, there is more flexibility depending on progression or milestones. But in all cases, the what, when, and how are specified. Number 3, compound exercises. When it comes to compound exercises, most incorporate 4 of the big 5, with those focusing on powerlifting or athletics also including power cleans. The big 5 being deadlift, squat, bench press, shoulder press, and pull-ups. I readily admit that this is a lot to take in. In full transparency, all of these programs work and will get you results. If you stagnate, switch to another and rinse and repeat. All of these programs have a no BS guarantee. But what do you do if you're not training to become an elite athlete or powerlifter? What if instead you're an average Joe or Jane in your 40s with a job and 2 kids? Or maybe you're in your 50s, like I am, trying to maintain strength and mass while staving off father time. Where's your program? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me share with you the program that I've used for over a decade. I'm certainly not going to win a Wahlberg Award, but I would say that my results are satisfactory. What I'm about to tell you is classified. Could end my career. This program is geared toward the time conscious, older men and women who need to stave off muscle loss as we age, where recovery is longer and the amount of cellular repair is also limited. Here are the exercises. Flat bench press, overhead press or strict press, bent over rows, one-armed rows, or a weighted rowing machine, anything that simulates pulling weight toward your body with your arms or your back. Pull-ups, or you can also replace it with weighted pull-downs. Squats, any variation where the weight is held above the waistline. Goblet squats, hips led, any type of squat machine that simulates the squat movement could also be used. Deadlifts, any variation where the weight is lifted from the floor to the waist. Hex bar, barbell, dumbbells, or anything else as long as the weight is lifted from the floor to the waistline. All of these are complements of each other, a push or a pull. Overhead press is the complement to pull-ups. Flat bench press is the complement to bent over rows. And squats, pushing weight away from gravity, is the complement to deadlifts, pulling weight away from gravity. Here's the program. You will do the compound exercises from above in any order that you choose once a week. That could mean you decide to only do one exercise per day due to time or other constraints, or double up and do 3 workouts per week, or any variation that meets your needs, as long as you do each exercise at least once a week. The only exception to that rule is that similar exercises, both pull or push for the same muscle group, are not done on the same day. For instance, you would not do overhead press and bench press on the same day, nor would you do pull-ups or weighted pull-downs, if that's what you're replacing pull-ups with, and bent over rows or rows on the same day. Both of those are pushing or pulling exercises. You would also not do both lower body exercises on the same day, meaning squats and deadlifts. That is, unless you enjoy pain, then be my guest. Here is how the sets work. You will start off doing 5 sets of 5, except deadlifts. Those will be 3 sets of 5, with any starting weight that you choose. Maybe start very light to get your body used to these movements. When you achieve the 5x5 or 3x5 in the case of deadlifts, then the following week you will add 5 pounds to the weight you started with. So if you started with 100 pounds on deadlifts, you will move up to 105. Once failure is achieved, that is, you are not able to complete 5 sets by 5 reps, you'll switch to a 3x3 format, 3 sets for 3 reps, starting with the weight that you failed at. If you're successful, you'll continue to add 5 pounds each time that 3x3 is met. You'll continue to do this until you can no longer do a set of 3x3. At which point, maybe you challenge yourself with sets of 2. Or perhaps you really challenge yourself for a 1 rep max. See what your personal best is and if you've exceeded it. Finally, you will crest the peak and reach the summit and can no longer complete a 3x3 for a given exercise. This is where you will start over back at 5x5 at a slightly higher weight than you began this journey with. For instance, if you started deadlifts at 100 pounds, finishing the entire series at, say, 130 pounds, you will start over with a 5x5 at 105 or perhaps 110 at this time around. So a typical workout might look like this. Monday might consist of flat bench press, 5x5 at 90 pounds, complemented by bent over rows, 5x5 at 85 pounds. Then Tuesday, you would do squats, 5x5 by 100 pounds. Wednesday, overhead press, 5x5 by 40 pounds. And pull-ups, as many reps as you can do, assisted or otherwise, until you can achieve 5x5 and then add weight. Or, if you choose, you can use weighted pull-downs and instead use 5x5 in that. Maybe you start with 60 pounds and do a set of 5x5 weighted pull-downs in place of pull-ups. Thursday, you would do deadlifts, 3x5 at 100 pounds. Friday, you would have off. The next week, you would start over If you completed a 5x5 for a given exercise, add 5 pounds the following week. For instance, deadlifts, if you completed 3x5 at 100 pounds, the new weight would be 105 pounds. Each exercise will progress at different rates until failure, and that is okay. I understand that you may have more questions at this point. So as a follow-on to this video, I'll be demonstrating each of the exercises that I listed, as well as providing some insight and tips that I've picked up in the time that I've lifted, simple things that I've done to maintain my physique at age 50, the different supplements that I use and I've found that work for me. I'll also talk a little bit about my diet and how it has evolved over time. As I said, this video is about separating the bull from the BS. Why can you trust an old dude like me? I would never call myself a fitness expert. I'm not a certified personal trainer, and I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just an old dude who lifts. So all the advice I'm giving to you is free. All you need to do is decide whether you're going to take it. Just don't hate me because I'm old.